Welcome to Break Check. It's your weekly Rocket League Esports recap. And this week, we're going to be talking about the Fall Cup for Europe, OCE, and South American regions. Let's go ahead and kick things off with OCE and Sam, as you can see in his first box. We're looking at OCE page here. This is obviously the second event of the 22-23 season. We had a little bit of a slow start for Power after picking up Fever in the offseason. And it seems as though here in regional number 2, they have regained. They did take the win over Pioneers, who were in the finals. And then we have placeholders in Ground Zero, placing 3rd and 4th. Gremlins, Direwolves, Trey Canny, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and the Lake Show will place top 8, Take a quick look at how that went. Pioneers and Power, 3-0 through Swiss. Pretty expected stuff there. And then we come down here to the playoff bracket. Ground Zero and Lake Show going all the way to 7, going the distance. Power taking care of business. Pioneers taking care of business. Placeholders, another team we've seen in a few top 8s, maybe a top 8. I can't remember if we saw them top 4 last time, but here they are being knocked out top 4 in the second regional and Ground Zero as well. And then Pioneers take the L. Power really shows up and shows out. You know, this Power roster, I think a lot of people have pretty high expectations for them. Obviously, a pretty good season last year, Torsos, Express, and Amphis. And this season, Express has decided to step away from things, and they have picked up Fever, who was on Renegades last season. And Fever is one of the best players in that region. So, you know, we had high expectations for Power and a little bit of a slow start with Regional 1, but here they are regaining in Regional 2, so I'm glad to see that. But we look over here at Sam, and wow, the club. They are, they're performing unbelievably. I think this top 4 here, the club, Secret, In-Game, and Crew, this is probably who we're going to see most times in the top 4. There are definitely some other good teams, only outliers, Empire, Parabellum, True Neutral. There's a few others as well that could potentially take games off these top 4, but I think that's your undisputed top 4 at the moment. And right now, the club is really just looking like that team. I want you to pay attention to this because they went perfect. They went perfect, all right? Give me just one moment. Sorry about that. 3-0, and then they 3-0 in-game. And in-game is obviously one of these teams that finished top 4. So fantastic Swiss stage from the club. And then they come down here in the playoff bracket and they 4-0 True Neutral. They 4-0 in-game once again. And then they 4-0 Team Secret. It seems as though no one can touch this club roster. And then a little bit later, we're going to be looking at the top performers in each region. And, I mean, holy moly, the players on the club they're dominating at the moment. And we'll see if anybody else in the South American region can step up. But we've had, obviously, Furia leave this most recent season. We had Complexity leave the season prior. And now we've still got 4 pretty solid teams in the club, obviously seeming a cut above the rest at the moment. But Sam is just, the output of quality talent is really incredible in the South American region. Let's go ahead and jump over to Europe's closed quals. We've got Evil Geniuses and Algiri, 2 teams going through 3-0. We've got Team Go, Monkeys, and Solary going through 3-1. Then we got Vitality, Heat, and Turbo Clappers going through 3-2. And, you know, we're looking at this, and we saw, again, Vitality did qualify, but at this point in things, you know, we're really hoping this Vitality roster can bounce back and perform well. And a 3-2 showing in the closed qualifier is a little, I would say it's still concerning. It's definitely steps forward, and they've done better than the previous event where they failed to make it. But even still, you know, having to fight for your life down here in the 9 through, I don't know. I can't do the quick math. 20, 24, 20, whatever. In the closed qual, it's just, I don't know. We'll see. Vitality did have a better main event, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, but you still, a team of this caliber, you're hoping that they will handle things a little bit easier, you know, not have as big of a scare. I mean, this is the final round. Again, they if they don't win this game against the Guild, If they don't win this game against Guild Esports, they're not in the main event. And I mean, that's just with the signing of Zen and the hope that Vitality is going to be one of these like top 3, top 4 rosters. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Is they signed Zen, and I'm sure they spent a significant amount of money on him. They've got Alpha, one of the best players in the world, and they're expecting to be at least contending for majors, if not one of the top teams in the region. And so this is, like I said, a slow start to the season, to say the least. We do have some tough results here for some teams. Williams Resolve, preseason, I had them as predicted to be a top 8 team, and now, we're missing out on the main event. That's not good. We've got Guild missing out on main event. We've got Sonics missing out on main event. We've got Endpoint missing out on main event. I mean, it is, and this is not just true for Europe. It's becoming true for North America as well. But the depth, it is, there's more than we have ever seen. And we have got incredibly talented players that, whether it's their own fault or not, they are missing the main event. And I do, and when I say that, what I mean is like sometimes players that are great players and that are on great teams, they just have bad days. And that is their own fault. They have to take accountability and responsibility for that. But it's crazy to see such high-level talent and such an abundance of it that is stuck on the outside of main events. I mean, this is something that I'm probably going to continue to echo for however long it takes for it to come to fruition. But this is just a shame. I really, really wish there was like a second tier, a second division, just a something for RLCS that isn't the premier top 16. And I think that top 16 should be elite. It should be its own thing. I think it's a great number of teams. I don't think we need to extend the premier events down to 24 teams or 32 teams. I don't think we need to do that. But I would love to see, even if it was the prize pools are not large. The support is not that, it's not a huge support. It's not a big stream. It's not a big production. Even if it wasn't those things, I would love to see support for the tier 2 level of competition, because there's still a ton of fantastic talent floating around that area. And here's the reality of the situation is, if there's nothing, concrete, if there's nothing substantial, if there's nothing important for these players over a long period of time, they're going to stop playing. And I know there will be fresh talent that moves in, but I just feel like to create a healthy ecosystem long term and to create this longevity for your esport, I think investing in that tier 2 is important. Anyways, that's a rant. Sorry, tangent. We got Sonics missing out, Guild missing out, Williams Resolve missing out, Endpoint missing out, amongst other teams. By the way, this should say EU. Apologies. Let me see if I can update this real quick. Quick refresh, and it is the exact title that I use for NA, because it's the same thing. It is inconsistency. We've got teams that have shown prowess in the previous event. Let's go ahead and take a look. Actually, while I'm on this topic, Fall Open. Oh, flashbang. But we look at the Fall Open, and we'll see so you got Sonics placing 9th through 11th. They were in that final round of Swiss, and they almost made it to top 8. And then we look at them the very next event, and they don't even make the main event. And this is kind of what I'm getting at. The inconsistency is plaguing these teams, but the problem is there are so many players and competitive rosters at this level that I think that, unfortunately, that inconsistency just is going to exist. There are going to be teams that pop into that, and they almost make top 8, or sometimes even do make top 8. And then the very next event, they're not going to be there. And it's just because there's so much talent, there's so many players, and resulting in so many good teams, competing in that top, top 20 area. And it's just tough. It's tough. Anyways, EU close quals, there it is. Let's go on to the EU Fall Cup. We got Karmine Corp taking first place. We got Quadrant coming in second place. Vitality? Huh? I was just talking about them and how they've been off to a slow start. And look at them here in the top 4. We got Moist top 4 as well. Tundra, EG, BDS, and Algiri top 8. Yes, that's correct. The previous winners, Oxygen, are not even in the top 8. We got G1 missing out top 8. We got Team Liquid missing out top 8. We got Monkeys missing out top 8. I mean, What the heck? Europe going crazy. I do want to shout to Quadrant, though. This is a team that even myself has been a little bit hesitant to bet on. I think people are still slightly underrating this team. And, I thought they could be a great team. And at the beginning, I thought they were definitely underrated. I thought they were better than they were getting credit for. They announced Cash, EXO, Relating Wave, and some people were saying it's a great team, but there were plenty that were saying Cash deserves better. This team's not going to do that well. They might break into top 8, and here they are now with good results in second place in points, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments as well. But Quadrant have really shown out and gotten some super high-quality wins, especially in playoff brackets. Let's take a look at the Swiss stage. Quadrant goes 3-0 through Swiss. 3-0. Take down Team Go. They take down Team Liquid. They take down G1 Esports. Fantastic stuff from Quadrant. BDS go 3-0 as well. Moist, EG, and Team Vitality go 3-1. Vitality ran the gauntlet. They take down Moist. They take down Oxygen. They do fall to BDS, and they take down Tundra. So their entire run is, or not their entire run, 3 of the 4 in their run are top 8, and they beat Oxygen, who did definitely have an off day, but they're still a high-quality team and the previous regional champions, so a fantastic run for Team Vitality. Algiri, Karmine Corp, and Tundra come through here in round 5. Karmine Corp definitely did not play their A game. I mean, they lost to G1 and in Swiss, and they lost to Moist, right? They got a win over Heat. They should be beating that team. They got a win over Team Go. They should be beating that team. And then they got a Game 5 win over Team Liquid. So Karmine Corp barely making it into the top 8, and then they do, go on a tear once they get there. But, this is chaos over here. It's chaos over here in Europe, and I guess that's the standard result here. But, man, it's so wild when you see it unfold in this manner. We got Quadrant 4-0 over Tundra. Vitality 4-0 over Evil Geniuses. Karmine Corp 4-2 over BDS. And Moist 4-1 over Algiri. And Algiri, I think this team, I'm sure they're frustrated with the loss, but they've got to be happy about this top 8. And then Team BDS. Team BDS have had 2 top 8 finishes. And there's a lot of buzz about some tweets that were sent out. I think Monkey Moon is just really frustrated with the team's results at the moment, and maybe has some other things going on as well. And just he's just being. I think he's taking it really hard. It's really hard on himself, and wants to succeed, wants to bring the fans what he is probably thinking they deserve, and bring the org what he is thinking and feeling that they deserve. And so I know it's a lot of pressure, and I know it's tough, but I do want to say, just from an outsider's perspective, 2 top 8s, while you're a team of BDS caliber, you're the reigning world champions, I'm sure the top 8s are not satisfactory. Ultimately, what you got to do is you got to look at the big picture, you got to look long-term, and you got to think to yourself, like, hey, here's the main thing that we should be fighting for is we got to make major, right? We got to make major. Once we make international events, that's where we can really up our points and focus on the big thing, because the big thing is Worlds. All this stuff matters, and I'm not saying to not care about regionals. I'm not saying to not care about majors, but you just have to have the perspective. You're not going to win every single event. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There are way too many teams that are good. There are too many events. The quantity is too high. You're not going to be perfect throughout. It's not going to happen, and you've got to be able to taper or adjust your expectations and just your perspective towards things. And I think, obviously, that team is a fantastic team. They are some of the most talented players on planet Earth. And I do have full faith that they can bounce back and get a few more top 4s, maybe even a couple of regional wins. But, it's the beginning of the season. Maybe a little bit of a slow start. But, hey, 2 top 8s, not the end of the world. So I do have faith in BDS performing well and making the major. But we do want to shout to Quadrant. Again, man, wow, Quadrant has really popped off. We have, unfortunately, Oxygen and Liquid missing out on the top 8, missing out on playoffs. Liquid they're in a bit of a tough spot, to be honest with you. We're going to go ahead and look at top performers here. But Liquid, they're going to have to turn things around here in regional number 3. All right, we've got our Octane GG graphic. Shout out to Octane and all the other fantastic resources for Rocket League Esports. Octane does stats. And we've got OCE, Super Lucky, Amphis, Banana Head, Kaka, Laxon, Gus, Callistic, Fever, Walcott, and Misty as your top 10 performers. Super Lucky and Banana Head, obviously both on Pioneers. Amphis on Power. Fantastic event for these players. I always want to highlight these, to take a look at these, and when we see throughout the season, when we continue to see the same players, always performing well, I think it's just going to be indicative of who are your top performers in these regions. So we're just going to continue to take a look at these after these events. That was your OCE top performers. We got Lost, and I do want to point this out, a 1.49 rating. Keep in mind that this is Lost as a player for the club, and the club obviously did go perfect through the entire event, which is, absolutely phenomenal. What an insane performance. They also have Bims and Astromic, who are third and fourth, so 3 of the top 4 performers in the South American region, all coming from the club. We got Brad in that number 2 spot, Drufino, Snip, Sad, Shad, RMNN, don't know how to say that, and Wisty. So there's your top performers for South America, with Lost and Astromic, the only 2 averaging over 1 goal a game. Just really, really impressive stuff here. So let's take a look at EU. We got Ixo in a number 1 spot, Cash in a number 2 spot, Vatira, Alpha, Atomic, K-Dop, Atto, Relating Wave, Joriez, and Tox. And man, for a moment here, we got to stop and we got to appreciate Cash and Ixo as a duo have been absolutely freaking phenomenal. And obviously we have Relating Wave on here too. All 3 of the players on Quadrant, top performers. And I can't say this enough. Cash and Ixo have just been, it's been shockingly impressive. Shockingly impressive. And I know that they're good players. I know that Cash has been one of these players where a lot of people are saying, we're all looking at him, we're saying, man, we see this ability. We see what you're able to do. And he just hasn't been able to find himself a good team composition where he can shine to the degree where his team finds success. He has always been a standout player. But these standout players, they're not satisfied being on a top 10 team. They want to, they're team players. They want to win. They want to be a part of something successful, not just put up stats. And I think we're finally seeing that now where Cash has found a team composition where it works for him. Ixo, holy moly. This man has been crazy. The first 2 events have just been so impressive, so incredibly dangerous offensively. Those 2 together are an absolute powerhouse, and Relating Wave rounding that roster out. Quadrant has been a lot of fun to watch. So shout out to them, and Ixo and Cash, dynamic duo, looking incredible. All right, last but certainly not least, we got the major race for Europe, and right now, Karmine Corp is locked. They are in. They are good to go. If we take a look at this, they got 12 points in the Fall Open, 16 in the Fall Cup. Obviously, they're going to get 2 in the next one at the very least. Puts them at 43 points, and I think that is higher than, it's definitely higher than anyone in North America, and or at least I think it is. And, it certainly locked them their spot in the Rotterdam Fall Major. Quadrant at 26 points, Oxygen at 25, Moist at 23, and then there's a big drop-off here to BDS, 14, Tundra, 14, Algiri at 12, G1 at 12, and Team Liquid at 12. And this is what I'm talking about. Vitality and Evil Genius is still within the running, too. This thing is wide open, okay? The only team that's locked is Quadrant. Yes, Karmine Corp. Yes, Quadrant, Oxygen, and Moist are looking good, but they've got to, they still got to handle it, right? They really, if they can go top 8, they're going to be fine. But we've already seen that it's very possible for them to be knocked out of top 8. And depending on how these other pieces fall into place, it could be dangerous. And so we still got some teams down here fighting for it. Specifically, this 5th spot looks pretty wide open. We had a similar thing in North America where you got 3 or 4 spots that are pretty well locked in as long as these teams don't just, well, for lack of a better word, absolutely toss. And then that 5th spot is just, fighting between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different teams fighting for that one spot. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So we'll see what happens. Right now, the only team that can relax is K Corp, and they have earned that. They've looked really good. To be honest with you, after this most recent event, Karmine Corp, I think they're in contention for one of the best teams in the world at the moment. This new roster of Vatira, Itachi, and Exotic, they look extremely impressive. They've got obviously incredible firepower offensively, but man, they're so organized. They defend very well, and they're just clinical. They're a force to be reckoned with. And I think a lot of teams in Europe are going to struggle throughout the season facing them, and obviously international competition as well. We'll see how that all unfolds in Rotterdam at the end of the fall split. That's going to do it for Break Check today. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.